A young man working late one night has to engage in a depressing task. But little does he realize this night is not like the others, because he's about to encounter either something incredibly disturbing or incredibly sweet. And then we take a look at the story of a young family out walking near the river one day, gathering wildflowers. It was supposed to be a fun time with a mother and her 2 children, but all of that would change in a moment when they saw a UFO crash right in front of them. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.
Actually, I'm a lot freaked out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. I hope you guys had lots of fun. We got a ton of stuff to cover today, so first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for one of our legacy Patreon supporters, Bill. Woohoo, yeah, wee! Haha, yeah, he's running on in, jumping in, doing the worm, he's rolling all over the ground. Bill is a long-time supporter of Dead Rabbit Radio. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand, I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Bill, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the Hare hovercraft. Everybody climb on board as Bill fires this bad boy up. We're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you hover us all the way out to a hospital? Nice leisurely journey aboard the Hare hovercraft. We're headed all the way up to this hospital. We don't have an exact location. We're about to meet a man, though. We'll call him Matt. He didn't use his real name. He works as a ICU registered nurse. That'd be pretty stressful, right? That'd be... What the heck is on my mustache? What? What was that? Oh, I was eating freeze-dried... I was eating astronaut ice cream earlier. That's nothing to do with the story. I just realized that I have freeze-dried vanilla ice cream in my mustache. And that's honestly probably the most whimsical part of the story, and it's not even part of the story. This guy, Matt, he does not have such a day. He went to a local boutique candy shop. That's where I was at earlier. I bought a pack of Big League Chew, a Martian soda, which I go, whoa, that's cool. It has people being abducted on the bottle. So that's pretty awesome. And it's plum-flavored soda. Why would you ruin such a soda? You could have easily just made it grape. Anyways, I'm never going to open it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Probably throw it at a gray alien if he ever shows up. And I got the world's hottest gummy bear. Apparently it's like 9 million Scoville units. And I'll probably never eat that as well. That'll probably just end up somewhere. I throw that at a gray alien too. Matt does not have such a whimsical day. He doesn't go to boutique candy stores. He's all sad. He's like, oh, why did I start having a job where I saved people's lives? I want to go to boutique candy stores as well. No, you can't. You're in the ICU all the time. Super intense job. People getting run over by lawnmowers, and they're like, my arms. Their arms all chopped off. Or maybe Matt's sitting there, and it's like, a giant explosion happened, everybody. I mean, think about how intense this could be. When's the last time something exploded at your work? It's not even exploding at your work. It explodes at someone else's work, but now it's your problem. Because you work at an ICU. You're sitting there watching television, and all of a sudden it's like, breaking news, something blew up downtown. Hundreds of people throwing hundreds of feet into the air. It's a bloodbath down here. And you're like, well, there goes my lunch. I was really hoping to go to that boutique candy store at lunch, but I guess not. I guess I gotta patch all these people together, and all of a sudden all the ambulances are flying around, picking up people. Pretty intense job. So hats off to people like Matt who can do that. I couldn't do it. But Matt does. And Matt says, I've seen a lot. I've worked there for a long time. I've seen some crazy things that most people would never be able to get out of their head. But the scariest thing I ever witnessed all started when a pregnant woman showed up at the hospital. This patient comes in, she's pregnant, 29 weeks pregnant, and she has sepsis. Sepsis is when basically your body's trying to fight off an infection and instead it starts attacking your organs. I had a buddy of mine get sepsis and he almost died. It's super fatal, right? It's one of those things that can kill you, can creep up on you pretty fast. Well, this pregnant woman comes in and she has sepsis. In the middle of the night, while they are trying to save her life, she goes into labor, which results in her child being delivered and the baby is dead. Heartbreaking. This is one of the things that Matt, as well as other medical professionals, it's just part of the job, unfortunately. Matt's job this particular night is to do a post-mortem on the baby. And he has, it's very interesting, he uses this term, transport container, which I think is the other word for a body bag. It's the more professional term for a body bag. But he goes, I did the post-mortem on the child, I placed the child into the transport container, and now I had to take the child down to the morgue. So I'm assuming he had like a dolly, right? I don't think he was carrying it around like a Safeway shopping bag. I'm assuming he had some sort of dolly. He walks into the elevator to go down to the morgue, pushing in the dolly, body bag on top. He hits the button for the floor that's going to take him to the morgue. The elevator begins to descend. Matt's standing in there with this baby. When all of a sudden, Matt hears the unmistakable sound that sends chills down his spine. He hears the sound of a baby crying. Wee, 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 wee. He's in the elevator alone. There's no one else in this elevator, and he clearly hears this sound. But even baby crying might not be the best verb. Wailing is the term he used. Just a blast of sadness and fear and frustration, that sound that a child in true distress can make. It wasn't just crying, the baby was wailing, and he's all alone in this elevator. Or he's the only living person in this elevator. It fills up the elevator. It's so loud. He's hearing this baby crying as loud as it can, and in his mind he's thinking, like, what's going on? I mean, actually, how many different thoughts would be popping in your head in this moment? He thinks, this is his first thing that he thinks. Remember, he did the post-mortem on this child. It's not like someone handed it to him, he put it in a bag, put it on a trolley, and took it to the elevator. He was the one who performed the post-mortem. He knows for a fact this child is dead. But when he hears that baby wailing, the first thing he thinks of is, oh my God, this kid must still be alive. Even though he knows that's not possible. But what would you do? You're obviously hearing a baby wailing. It's just you and a baby in a body bag. So he doesn't really think anything like, is this supernatural? Am I losing my mind? He immediately goes to a first responder mentality. The child must still be alive. I have to throw out everything I know of what's happened in the past hour before this moment. This baby must still be alive. And he reaches for the body bag and he puts his fingers wrapped around that zipper pull. And right before he unzips that bag, as the baby's still wailing, he hears something else now. A voice. The voice of a man speaking very calmly. Hush, little one. I've got you. No need to cry. The sounds of the baby wailing immediately stop. The elevator continues to descend. Matt's fingers are still wrapped around that zipper pull, and he unzips the bag. And he says, I saw in that bag exactly what I expected to see. A deceased 29-week-old baby. Fascinating story. Fascinating story, because there's so many different ways that we can look at this. But let's stay with Matt here. He posted this online underneath the name Nighthawk78. And he said, first off, he goes, nobody believes me when I tell this story. And there are things you could point at to go, it was in the middle of the night. It was a super stressful situation. Maybe you imagined the whole thing. And that's possible on one angle. But again, this is a guy, this isn't his first night on the job. This isn't his first time he's dealt with a situation like this. Why didn't he imagine these things all these years before? What's also interesting is he goes, no one believes me. And I don't even want to really speculate as to what any of that was. He says, I don't want to try to figure out what was up with the crying, what was up with the voice, what that was all about. I don't even want to really talk about it. Like, he'll tell the story, but then you go, well, who do you think the voice was? He goes, I don't know, and I really don't even want to think about it. Which is a very interesting response to an event like this. And maybe that's because, us on the show, me and you, we're always speculating about paranormal encounters. What does this mean? What happened? More than just the facts, but why did it happen? That's kind of what this show is about. He's like, I don't even want to think about it on that level. But it's funny because if you think about it, it's actually super uplifting. It's not the scariest thing he's ever encountered. It's not the most depressing story in the world. Because the hope that appears at the end, not only just hope, but guaranteed relief. Hope is the idea that things will work out your way, but it had the best scenario that could have possibly happened at this point. Obviously, the mother not having sepsis, obviously the child surviving till they were born. That's the best case scenario, but we don't have that. We have a dead baby in a body bag headed to the morgue. That's the situation that is presented to all of the players in this situation. And that was that baby's soul crying out. But then someone or something else showing up and calming the child. Taking the child away, maybe. Taking the child to paradise. I think the speculation is some of the most interesting stuff about this story. Was it a guardian angel? Was it a ghost of someone else who lives at the hospital? Right? I mean, you got two really interesting paths right there. Without the voice coming in at the ending, it would be one of the scariest ghost stories, or scariest encounters that Matt ever had in his career, possibly his life. If when the elevator reached the morgue as the door was opening and the mortician kind of looks over and was like, well, what's that noise? And then Matt slowly heard the crying fade away. Not stop, but fade away. And he wheeled the child to the mortician and be like, I don't know what that was, man. I don't want to talk about it. If that was the end of the story, it would be heartbreaking. A child crying for its mother. A mother that won't be able to hold that child until she eventually passes away and joins that child in paradise. That would be a totally tragic story. That's not what we had here. It did involve a dead child. I'm not going to skate over that, right? That's kind of depressing, but the fact that someone else came in to hold and comfort that child until eventually they could be in their mother's arms, that is very uplifting to me. That is very hopeful to me. Bill, I'm going to toss you the keys of the world. Famous Carpenter Copter. We're up on the hospital's helipad. We're getting ready to leave. And look we see a little ghost baby waving at us. Look, he's doing totally fine. He's doing totally fine. He's all trying to get aboard the Carpenter Copter. He's like, no, I'm waving for your attention. Save me, save me. As a creepy ghost is chasing him. You're mine, baby ghost. Get on board, baby ghost boy. We're leaving behind the hospital. Bill, why don't you fly us all the way out to England? As we're flying away, actually, I wanted to ask you guys a question. I'm not going to tell you what movie I saw, because it's a pretty big spoiler for the movie. So I'm going to be very vague. But the idea is this. In the movie, there's a character whose baby died. Jason, can you please stop talking about dead kids for a minute? Just 60 seconds, that's all we ask. I saw this movie the other night. The main character had a baby who died. And at the end of the movie, I'm going to make sure you guys can't guess the movie, because I don't want to ruin it. At the end of the movie, he sees his dead kid, this baby. The baby's visiting him now. He lost his kid a long time ago. His baby died. And at the end of the movie, as he's dying, after the thunderbolts attacked him, as he's laying there dying, he sees the ghost of his dead baby in the arms of his dead girlfriend, the mother of the baby. And he's laying there and he's like, oh, Hero Brian killed me. He used the Eye of Ender and threw me off a cliff. But there is my baby, my little ghost baby boy, suckling on the teat of my ghost girlfriend. I'm watching the movie and I thought, well, you know what? Technically, that ghost baby's 7 years old. It's probably a little too old to be breastfed. Now, I get it's supposed to be a touchy movie. It's supposed to be like, oh, look what awaits you in the afterlife. Your dead kid and your dead girlfriend. But think about it this way. I watched this because these characters are coming down from heaven, basically. They were dressed in all white clothing. This implied that they were from heaven. Here's my question. Does that mean that if you die as a baby, you will always be a baby? Because that would suck. I would assume, this is interesting, right? If you are a year old and you die, in heaven, will you always be a year old? And you go, well, no, that doesn't really make sense, because that's not really you can't really do anything as a 1-year-old. You can't walk. You can't feed yourself. That would suck, right? For eternity, you're a baby. So obviously you would grow up in the afterlife. But, one, not only do we not really have proof of that, we've covered 1 or 2 stories where ghosts age, but they're very, very rare. 2, let's say that you're 17 and you die. Do you age? Or let's say you're 29 and you die. Do you age? Let's say you're 89. You go, I made it. I lived a long and fulfilling life. Each wrinkle is a story that I share with the young people. And then you fall over and croak. You're not an elderly, eternal spirit. You're not like, oh, man, my bones hurt. Oh, I should have probably died in my 30s when I was still young and spry. No, the assumption is that you hit a median age. So if you're 89 years old, you probably appear to be in your 30s in the afterlife. And if you're 17 years old, you probably also appear to be an adult. 30, late 20s, 30s. But who knows, right? Who knows? That's one of the weird things about death. But especially a baby. Listen, if I was stuck in the body of a 48-year-old for all of eternity, I'm doing good. I'm pretty healthy for a 48-year-old. I don't have any knee problems. My back's kind of jacked up, but that's just from a bunch of car accidents from when I was younger. And I don't think my back would hurt in heaven, right? That would be quite the surprise. I was like, I probably should have taken better care of my back. Screaming for eternity. Would a baby remain a baby? I hope not. I'm trying to recall the stories. We've had some stories where people have been visited by dead siblings or dead family members, and they have aged up since they died. So it's always kind of an interesting thing, because what we're talking about here is eternity. I would assume babies age up. I would assume old people age down. And I'm wondering what that median age would be. And again, this is all theoretical, and souls, we really don't know if they have a form at all. We just have to go off what people have seen in near-death experiences as well as ghost experiences, which they do have a human form in one fashion or another. But yeah, we do have those stories about My brother died when we were both kids. And then this story we covered a couple months ago. This girl, her brother died when they were kids. He might have even died when she was very little. She really never even knew him. But then one day she was going to kill herself, and he appeared in the bedroom before she did it. Actually, no, I think she had done it. I think she was losing consciousness. She had already, however she was doing it, strangling herself or gas, a makeshift noose. She sees her brother in the room, and it makes her snap out of this suicidal action. It makes her undo the contraption, however she was getting ready to kill herself. And she lived. But she said I knew it was my brother. I knew 100% it was my brother standing in front of me, but he was older than he was when he died on Earth. Like he had aged up in the years. So we do see that. But on the flip side, we do have a place where it's a haunted house. The report of a young girl giggling and hiding behind the furniture, and sometimes when you open the closet, she's just standing there. And those reports will go on for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. So she doesn't age. Very weird when we ask just simple questions about the paranormal. I was just watching that movie the other night, and I go, I wonder how old that baby would be if he hadn't lived such a fast and furious lifestyle. But I won't tell you what movie it was. I don't want to give it away. So anyways, Bill is flying us out to England. We're going to take a quick look at this story. Actually, do I have time to tell it now that I'm told that one? It wasn't really a story. I just had a question about ghosts. Actually, no. I don't have enough time to tell the story I wanted to, but I actually have another story I want to tell you that I find super creepy. What was the first story I did on this episode? Oh, the dead baby. So, how could I forget? Bill, let's turn that carpenter copter around. We're leaving England. We never get there. Fly us all the way out to Trader Joe's. We'll save the UFO crash story for a future episode. You're like, well, Jason, I'm going to tell you right now, whatever happened to Trader Joe's probably isn't as exciting as a UFO crash story. You might be right, but one, I don't have the time to tell the UFO crash story the way I want to, with a lot of detail. But this story I'm about to tell you, it's much shorter, but it's something. Okay, the first story I said, is it creepy or life-affirming? I think it's life-affirming. I'm going to tell you this one, and I want to know what you guys think about this. Is this story creepy or life-affirming? And I think I don't think we'll agree on it. Maybe we will, but I'm curious. We're flying all the way out to Trader Joe's. Bakersfield, California is where we are at, I believe, based on some context clues. Bakersfield, California. We're about to meet a young woman. We don't have a real name. Let's call her Rebecca. And on this particular day, Rebecca gets off work a little early. Okay, that's sweet, man. Good way to start your time off, leaving work early. She goes to Trader Joe's to pick up a few items on her way home. She walks into the store, and right in the front of the store, right when you walk in, there's the floral department. Florist department, however you would say it. You have all the flowers there. If you want to get something for your sweetheart while you're buying a box of oranges or a bag of cork or whatever odd item that you can only find at Trader Joe's and not like a normal grocery store. You're like, I need 5 feet of beeswax. Time to go to Trader Joe's. You walk into this Trader Joe's and there's a floral department and all these flowers are ready to go. If you want something special, you can ask the clerk. They'll make it for you, but here you go. Here's the grab-and-go flowers. When Rebecca walks in, there is an employee in that section, and they're currently restocking the inventory of flowers. She's not here for flowers. She didn't really think about buying flowers. That's why the placement's so important, right? It's right in the front. It's not something you plan on, but it's something you might grab, spend some extra money. Rebecca's not in the market for flowers, but she looks over. Something catches her eye. It is this beautiful pink bouquet of roses. Rebecca looked straight at them, and they were just this deep, vibrant pink. And she feels drawn towards it. She's looking at these pink roses, and she's like, wow, I mean, like, I've never seen them so vibrant, so full of life. She said they were, quote, too bright to ignore. Almost as if they have their own light behind them. But she's not here for flowers. She looks at them as she's walking by. She admires their beauty. She's not here to buy flowers. She grabs her little shopping cart or basket or whatever and begins walking through Trader Joe's. But as she's walking around shopping, her path keeps bringing her back to the floral section. And each time she looks over and she sees those beautiful pink roses ready to go. She's like, I've never seen roses like that before. They're so beautiful. But I'm not going to buy myself roses. I don't need roses. And she would walk past it and continue her shopping. Her path of purchases takes her back by the floral section, and again she sees the flowers and they catch her eye. But, well, you're being silly, Rebecca, she says as she just walks away once again and continues shopping. But the third time, as she's walking on the single shopping trip, she's not coming back multiple days, she kept finding, for whatever reason, she had to keep walking by the floral department. On her third loop around the store, she goes, you know what? I need these. I need these flowers. Like, these are just too beautiful. I will regret it if I don't buy them. So she does. She takes the bouquet of these beautiful pink, vibrant flowers and purchases them. Rebecca gets out to her car, packs all of her groceries up. She's holding the roses and she takes a quick pic of them to share on her socials. And she's thinking in this moment, you know what? These flowers remind me of Grandma. And I haven't talked to Grandma in a long time. I need to give her a call. However, Rebecca's driving home. I'll call Grandma when I get home. I would love to hear from her. She hasn't heard from me in a long time. And these flowers have reinforced this idea that I need to call her. Life gets busy, I know, but it's time. And she's driving home. Rebecca gets home and she doesn't call Grandma. You know, you have to unpack your groceries. You have to get settled in. Rebecca's walking around getting all this stuff put away. 30 minutes after she reached home, Rebecca's phone rings. It's Rebecca's mom calling. And when Rebecca answers the phone, her mom tells her that a short while ago, Grandma had a heart attack and died. When Rebecca got more details, that's when she discovered when she was at Trader Joe's, that is when Grandma passed away. And you go, Jason, that's actually kind of a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. It's this idea that the grandma, she reached out in death in a special way to say, I love you to her granddaughter. And the way that she did it was through these flowers. Possibly. To get the stories for this show, I know people send in stories and I always appreciate that. But we're looking for 10 stories a week. So I'm reading 30 to 40, more than that. I'm probably reading 60 to 100 paranormal accounts a week. And I know that sounds insane. I speed read a lot of them. Some of them I take my time with, but still go, nah, it's not Dead Rabbit Radio interesting. But I churn through probably about 50 to 100 stories a week to get the 10 that we cover. One of the most common stories I see outside of people dying and the ghost visiting the loved one in the dreams, that's super common. Or just, I think I live in a haunted house, late at night I hear footsteps walking around, things like that. When we talk about death, when we talk about paranormal encounters with the recently deceased, these type of stories are incredibly common. I saw something or I had a thought about someone I hadn't talked to in a while. The next thing I know, my phone rang, and it turns out that person died. And that plays a lot into synchronicity. A lot of these stories, too, are, I had a dream. This is one of the stories that I didn't cover, but I really, really liked it, where a guy and I think it was his cousin, they went fishing together when they were 7 at like a family get-together. Fast forward 20 some odd years, and one of the cousins just dies unexpectedly in a car accident. But before the other cousin knew that he had died in the car accident, he had a dream about this cousin. And the cousin goes, "Don't worry about me, I'm just going to keep on fishing." And then when the guy woke up from his dream, his mom called and said, "Hey, your cousin died. He died in a car accident." And it's kind of like this last saying goodbye. Tons of stories like that. I actually find them super fascinating. But you can't, they're hard to tell in any sort of narrative sense. I could basically sum them all up like that. XYZ equals the end. So I read a ton of those accounts, and actually I really like them. I think that they're notable in the sense of that close connection between people. As someone's dying, they're reaching out one last time. Very beautiful, poetic in a way. A beginning and an end. I don't think this story is like the other ones. For one detail. Now, Rebecca could not nail it down to the minute unless she checked her watch. But she kind of figured this out. And again, she posted the story online as it being a life-affirming, beautiful moment. And I don't want to take that away from her. In a sense, it is. But her grandmother was still alive when Rebecca entered the Trader Joe's. And it was right when she entered the Trader Joe's that she saw the flowers. They did not immediately remind her of her grandmother in that moment. She just thought they were beautiful, and there was something about them that drew her closer to them. But her grandmother was still alive. Now, not the healthiest. She was about to have a heart attack in 20 minutes, but she was still alive. The first time Rebecca made the loop and saw the flowers, again, Grandma was still alive. Probably not doing that great, because in about 10 minutes she was going to die of a heart attack. When Rebecca made the loop through the store again and once again came across the flowers, Grandma was still alive, maybe 7 minutes away from a heart attack. Rebecca said that when she found out when Grandma died, she knew exactly where she was. She was at Trader Joe's. She was on her third loop around the store. Those flowers caught her eye, and she goes, "I have to buy those." Rebecca said it was when she picked up the flowers, made the decision to purchase them, and buy them in that period of time. That's when Grandma died. That's creepy. That's super creepy. Because you go, well, Jason, are you saying Grandma died because Rebecca picked up the flowers? I don't know. It's not that she died the instant she picked up the flowers. The only way that Rebecca would know that is if she looked at her watch and goes, 7:22, I need to start getting home. And then she grabbed the flowers and walked away. Which sometimes we do that, right? Sometimes our vision is taken to a clock, or we think of something like, oh, what time is it? And you remember the time. You're like 7:22 and you grab the flowers and you start walking away. And then when you find out Grandma died at 7:22, you would go, wow, she died right when I picked up the flowers. So you have to wonder, was this Grandma reaching out one last time? Giving Rebecca a story that she'll remember forever of a grandmother's love lasting even after death? That is a beautiful thought, but remember, this all started when Grandma was still alive. But sometimes people know they're going to die. Sometimes, like, we don't know. She had a heart attack and died. At that time, she could have been hooked up to every machine possible in the hospital leading up to this. We don't know Grandma's health. We don't know if she was in a spin class going, "Come on, whippersnappers, move them legs," like the healthiest grandma in the world, or she was just a wreck. She'd been suffering for a long time in the hospital, and this is the moment she died. If she was slowly dying, it actually would make sense that she could reach out spiritually before the moment of her actual death. What I think is interesting too about this story is that even the beginning sets things up, that something unplanned yet important is going to happen. How did the story start? Rebecca got off work early. If that hadn't happened, if Rebecca had stayed there her whole shift, Grandma would have been dead possibly before she even got to Trader Joe's. So you already have this setup saying things are not acting in usual ways this day. You go, Jason, yeah, that's all well and good, but why does it scare you? Are you afraid somebody's going to pick up roses one day and you're going to drop dead? I think the reason why it's scary, because I do think it's a super fascinating story. It was posted online by someone going by the name Homan Pallades. The reason why I read a lot of these stories, yet I find them scary. This one in particular, the dream ones I see, just loved ones saying goodbye in a unique way. And again, I read tons of these. I do find it a little scary, the idea that, because I constantly am walking through a store and something's saying, hey, dude, you should buy me. And I look at it, and I turn around, I'm like, what, who said that? Little leprechaun from Lucky Charms is like, me. I said that. You should buy me. No, I constantly have these moments where I don't know if things are going to be significant or not. I shouldn't say, right now everyone's all calling mental health professionals. They're like, oh, it's go to the river. Oh, Jason, I shouldn't say, definitely I don't want your voices, but I want to say that it's not that I constantly wonder about whether or not things are significant. That might be the wrong way to put it. But let's say I walked into a store and I saw a bottle of vinegar. And I never use vinegar. I'll put it on my Mongolian barbecue, but that's about it. I never use vinegar. But I'm walking by and I go, man, that vinegar reminds me of Uncle James. Good old Uncle James. Man, I remember I used to sit in the corner of the house and drink pure vinegar. He'd made it himself. I don't even know what vinegar is made out of, but apparently he did. He had a distillery in the back. Wow, I wonder what Uncle James is up to. Man, I should call him. But then I never do. And then either Uncle James dies and I go, oh man, I should have called him. I can't believe I didn't call him. Oh, now I'll never know how vinegar was made. Oh man, oh, my life is in ruins. Or I do call him and nothing happens. He doesn't die. The next day I was like, what a waste of an hour. I thought that was the last time Uncle James was going to be alive. Oh, man. Don't you ever get that? I constantly am sitting there and I'm thinking like, I'll be saying goodbye to somebody or getting off the phone. And I'll think in the back of my head, that's the last time I'm ever going to talk to this person. I think that's probably mostly my anxiety. Maybe it's not as universal. But I'll get quote-unquote feelings that something bad is going to happen, or a tingling. Not really. That might be kind of overdramatic. I was like, my eyes roll back into my head. No, I'll just constantly get the feeling, well, that's the last time I'm ever going to see that person. And sometimes it gets so overwhelming, I want to turn and go back to the car and say some final things. Like, since you're gonna die today, you oaf, I've always hated you. You never let me learn about vinegar. What are you talking about? It's like, that's all I want to learn. You know what I mean? Like, haven't you ever done that? It happens to me all the time. I get these emotions and these premonitions, but they're not. They're more just like anxious feelings. It's not a premonition as far as the paranormal. I'm just like so worked up and I constantly am thinking, what if this is the last time I see this person? What if I don't call them tonight? I have this feeling that I should call them. What if I don't call them tonight? Are they going to die? I think it would be crippling to most people. I think the reason why it's not crippling to, like, I don't turn around and run after the car and say, I love you. I've always loved you. Don't let me go. I want to be with you forever. It's the Uber driver. He's all, not again, man. Come on. You need to go to a shrink. Your anxiety disorder is out of control. I think the reason why it doesn't cripple me, it's because I've been having it all my life. I don't have anxiety attacks anymore. This type of thing, they'll pop up from time to time. But I used to happen all the time. Be on the phone with someone and I'd be thinking as we're saying goodbye, I go, I'm never going to talk to this person again. They're going to die. So stories about people like having a premonition, like, look at these beautiful flowers, I should call my grandma, and then the grandma dying, those stories actually freak me out. I do really enjoy them. I read a ton of them. I don't cover most of them because they're all kind of the same. But I think it's because I find them fascinating, but I also find them a little scary at the same time. I don't necessarily think this story was life-affirming. I think it's terrifying. And I think the saddest part of the whole story is, what did Rebecca do when she got the flowers? I'm going to call Grandma when I get home. Did she call Grandma when she got home? No. Grandma was already dead by then. But it's very interesting that Rebecca, she had it in her, even though Grandma was already dead, Rebecca still didn't do what her heart was telling her to do, which was to call Grandma when she got home. It wouldn't have saved Grandma's life. But think about how many times we think, oh, Jason, you're the only guy who does this, apparently. You get off work and you're like, oh man, I really need to call Aunt Jenny. Haven't talked to Aunt Jenny in a long time. And then you go home and you start watching YouTube and you're cooking dinner and you totally forget. Aunt Jenny might not die that night. She probably won't die for another 20 years. That's another night you've gone without calling somebody who really could use a phone call. I think 9 times out of 10 when you have this feeling to reach out and call someone, it's not because it's going to be the last time you talk to them. It's not because they're going to die later that night. It's because they need a call from you. There is some sort of spiritual bond there. They do need to talk to you. And you do need to call them. I think that happens pretty often. The whole, I died the night you didn't call me or whatever. I mean, that's far more rare. But it's weird. I don't find the story particularly life-affirming. I think it's weird, and I think it's sad, and I think it's kind of scary because of everything that's bundled up with it. But the occasional, hey, I need to call someone, I haven't talked to them in a while, I think that's totally normal. And I do think that's two people kind of reaching out across distances, saying, hey, man, I could really use some words of wisdom right now. I could, or at the very least, I just need to hear your voice. So it'd be cool if you called me. They're not saying that out loud, but they're saying that with their spirit. So we should, in those times, pick up the phone and call them. Not because you think they're going to die, just because they need to hear the voice of a friend or a family member or a confidant in that moment. So all sorts of different things, right? And that's a nice little spiritual ending to the end of it. Bouquet of roses, grandma's dying, all the sorts of stuff. That stuff terrifies me. I read probably 20 stories like this a week. And I wanted to share one with you. There's a ton of them, but I thought this one was weird just because of how everything played out. But I hope you guys enjoyed it too. We'll do the spaceship crash episode tomorrow. I know, Bouquet of Roses versus Vessel from Another World impacting on Earth. But I just had to balance out the time. So deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today.